Hello, curious one. Have you ever asked yourself, how did people start wearing clothes? It might seem like a simple enough question, but if we look back far into history, we will see that clothing has always served two main purposes: protection from nature's elements and expression of identity and beauty. Long before we learn how to make fabric and to express ourselves in a fashionable manner, early humans lived without clothing. Their bodies were bare, painted only with patterns made from clay, chalk, or charcoal. In all likelihood, these markings were used for rituals, status, personal expression, or even for functional purposes such as camouflage. It was a kind of early body art that laid the groundwork for what was to come. Over time, primitive humans learned to make tools from stone and bone. They used these tools not only for hunting, but also for cutting and carving. They even made small cuts in their skin, and into these cuts they rubbed natural pigments like ochre or charcoal, creating designs that stay visible for a long time. We infer this early human practice from the discovery of pigment-stained tools and rock art, and by studying the remnants of tattoos found on ancient human remains. While this wasn't exactly tattooing as we know it today, it was a powerful form of body decoration and communication. Our ancestors eventually combined useful with beautiful. They began to care about how they looked, and not just for themselves, but to impress others. They adorned themselves with necklaces made from animal tusks and bones, feathers, horns, and pieces of shells. These accessories were more than decoration. They told stories of success, strength, social status, and survival. For example, a necklace of bear claws would show hunters' bravery, while a feathered headdress could symbolize wise man or woman. At first, clothing was born out of need. When early humans migrated into colder regions and when temperatures dropped, humans had to adapt or perish. And as always, we adapted. Our ancestors sought shelter in caves, often those already occupied by dangerous animals like bears. In order to survive, they hunted these animals and discovered that their thick furs could be used to keep warm. After a successful hunt, they would carefully remove animal skin and wrap it around their bodies. Over time, they learned how to stitch pieces of animal fur together using sinew or plant fibers, marking the beginning of sewing. That was the inception of one of humanity's oldest crafts. In order to make clothes, our ancestors needed a way to join pieces of fur or hide. They needed holes. For that purpose, they used sharp stones or bone tools, but threading thin straps through those holes was tricky. That is when they invented something incredible: needles with eyes, carved from bird bones or ivory. Some of these ancient needles were so finely made that we could still use them for sewing even today. In fact, archaeologists have found eye needles and decorative shells in caves across Europe and Asia dating back more than 30,000 years. These discoveries show us that early humans didn't use all of their time for mere survival, but they were actually creating, designing, and expressing themselves in ways that feel surprisingly familiar. The next time you choose what to wear, pause for a moment and remember that behind our clothing lies a deep human story, one we have been telling since prehistoric times. It is a language without words, through which we share our identity with the world. This was Captain Fact. Thank you for learning with me, and stay curious.